412 LCB File R151-12 Range Finding Scope. Chief Game Warden Buonamici.
For the record, Rob Buonamici, Chief Game Warden. This is a highly complex regulation with substantial changes. No, not really. What we have is we've had requests from the public, we've had requests from sporting goods stores like Cabela's and so forth. There's these range finding scopes that are on the market now, where the range finder is built into the scope and it'll tell you the distance to the animal and so forth. And based on our current regulations, those would be illegal. And that's what we've had to tell these folks. And that was not our intent at the time, but technology has advanced since then, where they've incorporated these range finders within the scope. So all we're suggesting is under number 4, second to the last sentence, it is unlawful for a person to hunt big game mammal or game mammal or a game bird with a weapon that is equipped with a sight that is capable of casting or projecting a beam of light from the sight to the animal. We're suggesting we insert visible, so it reads projecting a visible beam of light from the sight to the animal. That would preclude the lasers with the red dot that shows up on the animal and so forth, which is our intent.
Commissioner Rain.
And this would allow me to utilize, therefore, an infrared beam out of my scope to for night vision and shooting them with that too, because it's not visible.
As long as it's not visible to the human eye.
It's not visible to the human eye, and I don't know if do you think that would be reasonable? I mean, a laser beam is visible with the correct equipment, visible to the human eye. Is that appropriate? I mean, I'm talking the legal semantics of that.
Right.
And did you mean to include in this somebody that had an infrared beam?
Commissioner Rain.
I always have those questions.
We had considered that, and we thought this would address the issue at hand. I mean, there's always going to be some technology out there that if people want to get around it, they can use, just like you said, the, infrared, mechanisms that are out there and so forth. And so we could, we considered, quite honestly, visible to the unaided human eye. That's still an option that we would support. So we're good either way.
Any other commission comment? Seeing none. Any public comment? Seeing none. That's it. Okay. 9F, Commission General Regulation 413, LCB File R152-12, Aquatic Invasive Species, Chiefs of Fisheries, John Sjöberg.
For the record, Nevada Department of Wildlife, Chief of Fisheries, John Sjöberg. Chairman Rob and Commissioners, this is part of the implementing regulations for NRS 503597, the invasive species statutes. That statute provides a definition of aquatic invasive species and injurious aquatic species, which is where this bifurcated list in CGR 413 came from, why it's subdivided into 2 categories. But it does not provide the definition of those species that are included under those 2 categorizations. Aquatic invasive species are those which the Commission has determined through this proposed regulation to be detrimental to aquatic life, water resources, or infrastructure for water delivery, whereas injurious aquatic species are those, again, which have been determined to be a threat to game fish or sensitive, threatened, or endangered aquatic species or to their habitats. So that is the difference between these 2 lists that are included in the CGR, and where that came from was the existing NRS. This list of species that's included here, for the most part, came from our existing NAC 503110, which is prohibited species in the state of Nevada. These are ones which we would call, for lack of a better word, the particularly bad actors that fall into these two categories, and that we have particular concerns about relative to the risk to aquatic systems and Nevada's fishes and other aquatic species. There are 3 species proposed under the AIS, Aquatic Invasive Species Classification, and 16 species proposed under the Injurious Aquatic Species categorization. I don't need to go through all these individually, but if you have any questions about this or any questions about why specific things are on the list, I'd be happy to address that.
Any questions? Any public comment? Oh, Jeremy. Commissioner Drew.
The only one I had was in relation with the northern pike, and by listing it here, does that change anything in terms of its status as a game fish, or is that changing its status, or I guess
no, it doesn't change any status on it. What this is intended to do is to address specific issues where we've had significant problems with illegal transfer of northern pike in the state, and so this allows us to apply those specific statutory provisions for people who are illegally moving northern pike around.
So essentially you'd run into an issue if you had one in a cooler with an aerator and you were transporting it.
We would certainly hope so. They represent a substantial risk to some of the sport fisheries in the state by moving from places where they already are.
Any further questions? No public comment. We're going to move on. Why don't you stay right there, because we're going to H, Commission General Regulation